On the Just Crashing channel, the old channel, man. This one's a really fun one when I just want to get some thoughts off my chest when I feel like talking, and this is always a fun side project, so I'm happy to be back here. Today we're gonna be talking about something pretty interesting. Forgive the super messy room. I'm about to actually go crazy and clean my whole apartment, but I want to get this one out and at least recorded and ready to publish. The unfortunate thing is, for the people that I want to watch this, some of you will, but most won't. And for the people that do watch this, you're probably going to understand me perfectly. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Um, I've been working on the title in my mind. It'll be something along the lines of like, everyone deserves respect and dignity. Something along those lines. Um, I don't want to put some crazy YouTube title to this, but there's another version of what I could say. The title maybe was going to be something along the lines of, am I a bigot? Am I a transphobe? Am I an alt-right extremist? Or you know what I mean? So we're going to be talking about that a little bit. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. Um, I want to tell a bit of a story, and then maybe we'll dive into some of the specifics. The story will be pretty short, but I started playing Pokemon in about March, April 2024. I had a coworker at the job that I was working at the time begging me to play TCG Live with him. Oh, download this game. And I was like, I don't want to play this. Like, I don't play Pokemon. And I told him I played Unite, but, I wasn't interested in Pokemon. And he apparently played when he was, like a child. He was trying to get back into it. Then I downloaded it. I played, and I fell in love, and I just wanted to play more. And he was like, "Hey, would you ever buy cards?" I said, "Yeah, I would love to buy cards." And we bought cards, and we played, and I ended up going to a local shop on like the north side of Austin, and played against who now I would consider a friend. My first ever round at this great shop that's in the area, um, and fell in love, man. Fell in love with TCG, fell in love with the community aspect, making friends, meeting people. And then I bumped into them all the time, and I just had these acquaintances and these friends. And, I'm not super, super close with many of the people that I've met in my local scene. But, when you work hard and you kind of become a formidable opponent, and they start to recognize you, and you gain this kind of mutual respect for each other, and you're friendly, and y'all, hey, do you have this card? And you trade, and you work together, and it was a really, really unique experience for me coming from esports, because I curate or like cultivate a team, maybe a social circle, play with those people. That's kind of what you get, especially, being a former streamer, content creator. Like, you kind of keep people on the outside a little bit. But when you go to these local tournaments, when you're going to, TCG as a community, you're kind of forced to meet people and get closer with people than esports ever really allowed. And I loved that. It really resonated with me. I really enjoyed that part of it, inherently. And you know, the funny thing is you do all that, void the necessity to talk about heavier topics. I for a year plus, no one ever would have anticipated any of my religious, social, political, personal beliefs, feelings, thoughts, because why would you? And you don't really judge people on those immediately, I suppose. I mean, I would say I don't really judge people on some of those things. I mean, yeah, they're personal thoughts. I mean, I guess there's some things that I would, not really abide. Um, but you judge people on your experience with them, your personal, individual experience. How does that person make you feel? How do they treat you? You know? And so, like I said, we all deserve respect and dignity. And I'm very comfortable and confident to say that I've always given that to every person, because that's my standard. That is my standard. That's what I was raised to do. That's what I expect of others, even when you don't get it. And so, you fast forward to today. I've been to NAIC twice. I've been to Oh man, I can't forget. I can't remember where one of the regionals I went to was. One other regional that's out of state, San Antonio regional. Um, I love Pokemon TCG as a hobby. Probably my favorite hobby I've ever found in all of my 32 years of life. And I'm currently suspended. Now, here's the thing. I want to be clear about the suspension. I'm currently suspended for a minimum of 90 days, at which point I can appeal. And because my suspension is listed as an indefinite suspension, if I fail to appeal, if like the appeal doesn't go through, then I will be continuously or indefinitely suspended for a year, and then I can appeal again. Now, the thing with Pokemon, this is really annoying, and we're going to talk about it for a couple of reasons. Um, is when there's action or reports and suspensions, things like this, they don't give you any information. So there was no specific information as to why I'm suspended. But I'm smart. I can connect the dots. So we got to get into this story now. So I'm not going to do dates. I'm not going to show evidence. I'm just talking. If you want to do all that, feel free to message me. We can do the specifics if I really needed to. But this video is me getting my thoughts off my chest, not me defending myself per se. Um, it was somewhere around December, November, December was when I started wearing my black on black, like super low key. I don't even have it with me. Make America Great hat, Make America Great Again hat. Now, just for some context, not that it matters, I have voted for the Democrat Party in the United States since I was 18 for every single election that I voted in, except for this past election. Um, in 2016, I did not like President Trump or Trump in general. I was not a fan. Thought he was disrespectful and crass and unprofessional, and I couldn't imagine someone being president like that, and I voted against him. But fast forward to 2024, I vote for President Trump. I have about one or two main issues when it comes to politics that kind of sway my vote. And the Democrat Party in general, I feel very similar to, and not even that I'm a huge listener, but just forgive me, I feel very similar to Joe Rogan and people like Matt Maurer, who have just watched the left move and move and move in ways that I don't recognize. And so I'm not going to sit here and talk politics for too long, but long story short, I'm an open, proud conservative. I'm, a state citizen of Texas. I'm a law-abiding gun owner. I've had guns in my life for a decade plus. And yeah, I follow the law, treat people with respect. I do my civic duty and inform myself on topics and make my own opinions and decisions and have my own beliefs, and I vote and I do everything lawfully and respectfully and yeah, there's that. Um, but unfortunately, especially in the kind of TCG world, being anything other than like progressive or left leaning seems incredibly demonized. And, hey, by all means, like, believe what you want. But I want to return to the premise everyone deserves respect and dignity. And so let's just go on ahead and get to brass tacks. One of my main issues when it comes to politics, I don't support transgenderism. Now, what does that mean? Am I a transphobe? Maybe, categorically, definitionally, maybe. But what does it mean? Personally, and there's definitely a spectrum of beliefs because I see a lot of conservatives that act in ways and speak in ways on this topic that I do not like. I don't believe that people are trans. I believe that people probably fall into two categories, maybe more, where you are a person who is experiencing gender dysphoria, or you are a person who is experiencing what I've heard called rapid onset gender dysphoria, or kind of the social contagion part of this thing that happens in very specific groups. Young people, predominantly progressive areas, predominantly white people. I do not believe that men and women can change our genders. I do not believe that sex and gender are different. They are synonymous. It is all very much so ingrained in our lives, and that is what I believe. That said, let me explain where my beliefs are nuanced. If you have a preferred name, I will use it. If you have preferred pronouns, I will use them gladly, because you are a person and you deserve respect and dignity, and I will give you that. If you are close to me and you pull me aside and you say privately, hey, do you really think that I'm the gender that I say I am? The answer will be no, because I don't believe that. Respectfully. But these beliefs, whether you think I'm a bigot, whether you think I'm hateful, I've never used to hurt someone. I understand that they can be hurtful. I understand that. Intent and impact are not always the same. But I do not scream and yell and advocate for these beliefs. I do not go into card shops and talk about this. I do not forcibly misgender, dead name people. I do not do that. I would never do that. That's awful. And for the conservative people that do that, look, do whatever you want, but not my speed, not my tempo. I don't like it. So, I start wearing my hat, and the first bit of flack I ever got was when I was down in Houston, and I randomly saw a tweet from who I knew my opponent was. I'm not super familiar with them, but I saw the tweet randomly that they were complaining about the fact that someone wore a Trump hat. And then it was like being crazily supported, in my opinion. And again, at the event, I never wore the red hat. It's a little too bright and loud for me. You can call me a coward. I don't care. Whatever. I just like the black on black hat. It's more low key and chill. I didn't bring it up. I didn't, push my opinion. I didn't talk about Trump or politics or Republican policy or religion or anything. I had a great time at that tournament. Went home. I lost, didn't do super hot. I think I top cutted, but whatever. And I thought everything was fine. And then I come to see Twitter hates me, or, hates whoever this anonymous person is. I took accountability for it. I spoke up. I said, hey, what's wrong with this? That carried all the way through to the San Antonio regional, where there was like the rule change, but clearly the rules are just so ambiguous with Pokemon in so many ways, where it's like, there's always like plausible deniability that anything could be covered or couldn't be covered. I'm just going to say it like that. But more or less, if you look in the inclusion policy, political affiliation and religious beliefs are all covered in there, as well as, identity, gender identity, sexual orientation, etc. All of these things are protected. And so what does this mean? It comes down to the premise. Everyone deserves respect and dignity. And yet, I am overwhelmingly on the end of being denied respect and dignity from my peers who disagree with me. And I am consistently harassed, targeted, used for social media clout and attention. It's happening. We know it. Fat shamed, made fun of, insulted with use of ad hominems or personal attacks. I mean, it's so astoundingly obvious what's happening that I'm just being targeted because I'm an easy target. And you could say because, the broader, more outspoken online, like Twitter community of Pokemon TCG, or maybe TCGs in general, I don't really know, is much more progressive. But this is no way to be. This is no way to act. This is no way to give someone respect and dignity. There have been people who do have similar beliefs to me that I also would condemn. And that's not hard to do. But you run the risk of being a fool or being naive or acting childishly when you fail to recognize the nuance, and you only take someone opposed to your beliefs and you force them to be a villain or evil or the bad guy in your story. It is self-victimization in cases where victimization is not happening. It is delusion, and I'm not even talking about belief. It is people using hive-minded groupthink and social media pushed narratives and lies and slander and libel. And I'm not even sure what percentage of people that hate me have ever actually observed any of my behavior, my thoughts, my feelings, my sentiments, my posts at all. Most of them probably hate me second, third, fourth hand. And so specifically, I wanted to do a bit of a call out. Pokeduals. This person, I believe they identify as they, non-binary. Alex is their chosen name. This person, to put it simply, is a piece of shit. They are a fucking terrible person. They are clearly crazed for attention, hungry for, manufactured self-virtue. And I don't know if it is malicious from the reward that can be reaped on social media or if it is just delusion. But this person is fucking awful. They're just fucking terrible. They use me as a tool to garner attention, and they say awful and terrible and ridiculous shit, and their actions are completely unpunished and unchecked. And because in this diluted way of thinking, I'm so evil that I deserve it, right? I'm so bad, I'm so cruel, I'm so hateful, I'm such a bigot, I'm such a transphobe that I deserve it. Even though I don't treat anybody like that. And every now and then I get frustrated. Everybody's allowed to get frustrated and pop off every now and then. It's just lunacy. It is uncivilized slop of character. And now here's the thing. I want to make myself abundantly clear here. I am no victim. I cannot be victimized. I do not allow myself to have a victim mentality. That said, I am quite literally a victim of this. I don't care. I can't do anything about it, other than to speak my mind and to have conviction, and that's what I will do. I will never be silenced. I'm also not that loud. If you go look at my Twitter, it's not like I'm tweeting about my thoughts, my opinions, my religion, my beliefs 24/7. I really don't do that. But I cannot be forced away so easily. You can push me quite a bit, apparently, more than I thought, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But I cannot be silenced. I cannot be controlled. I'm a person that has thoughts and feelings just like everybody else who deserves respect and dignity. So, to my suspension, I don't really know what it's for, but this is what I think, and this is how I'm operating on this assumption. There is a local in my area that is trans-identifying, that is an employee of a card shop. I'm going to keep as much of this vague as possible. And that card shop's manager messaged me one day after I'd attended many leagues there, played in tournaments, no problems, perfectly respectful, kind, great times, personally, enjoy giving my business, all those things. Manager messages me and tells me I'm no longer welcome. And they word it under the guise of, you make people uncomfortable. Now, here's the deal. Well-crafted narrative, right? I make people uncomfortable. I can see that. That's fair. But the answer is why, or the question is why, because you have to have some kind of cause, some kind of meaning behind this, right? If I make people uncomfortable, what is the reason? Well, every shop that I've ever been to locally, every person that I've been, in close proximity to, not many of them would say it's my behavior. I don't act crazy or rude. They wouldn't say it's my language. They wouldn't say it's unwarranted forced conversation. They would say nothing other than, if anybody had anything to say at all, and most locals don't, because most locals love me. Truly, most locals love me. I have a very good network of not friends, what's the word? Acquaintances that are perfectly respectful and kind with me, have even talked to me about this because they're like, what the hell is going on, So no one would say any of those things. So the logical conclusion is that the only way that I could possibly make someone uncomfortable is because of my beliefs. And with that realization, me personally, I am of the mind and am so certain that this particular shop is discriminating against me because of my religious beliefs, social beliefs, political beliefs, all three, whatever combination. That is against the Pokemon inclusion policy. Now, right to refuse service, absolutely. They can ask me not to go to their shop. They can refuse me service. That is all fine. And yes, there is some ambiguous rules in the Pokemon rulebook that basically protects them from this anyways. But the reality, we're not talking about rules, we're not talking about the law. The reality, what's really happening is that me, Joseph Sanchez, I am being discriminated against by one shop, by one manager, by one particular employee who is a local player because of my beliefs. It is just a fact. There's no other way to look at it. And if they're going to do that, I at least want to do my part to defend myself and to report them for this harassment, for this ridiculous handling of nothing situations. So, yes, I had myself trespassed. There was no fight. There was no yelling. There was no arguing. The manager asked me not to go. I went. I had them lawfully trespass me, talked to the two officers. I have my own footage of it, and I have multiple body cam footages, front of the vehicle footage of it. It's all amicable, fine. And I did this not to be a nuisance. I mean, it is being a nuisance. Not to be terribly disruptive. I didn't disrupt the tournament for more than 15 seconds for the cops to come get me and ask me to walk out with them, go talk to them. But I did it because I wanted a public record that the shop is making this choice. I don't want them to just to say that they're making the choice and then have plausible deniability to like walk back their decision when confronted. They made a choice. The manager of this shop made a choice to discriminate against me. Logically, that's the basis. And I wanted public record of it so I could report the shop for their wrongdoing. Now, here's the thing. Do I think anything will ever come from that report? No, but it's been submitted. Do I think anything will ever come from the player report of the local player who is clearly harassing me, and I'm not even going to name who the person is? No, probably not. Do I think that I'll get unsuspended? I hope so. I can't submit my appeal for 2 months, but I hope whenever I do, I will, because at the end of the day, I know that I'm kind and respectful. I know that people don't like my beliefs, and that's okay, because guess what? I don't particularly care for that way of life, and I'm not kicking and screaming about it. But everyone deserves respect and dignity. And, you know, even as much as, like, I know what the response will be this to be, like, oh, look at the bigot crying and complaining that people don't like him. I don't care if you like me. You will respect me. Does that make sense? Like, even when you won't, I will still puff my own chest and say, you are going to respect me. And the reality is, none of these people would act like this outside of the screen. It is uncivilized, and as a society, we do not allow it. We do not allow this type of behavior. The behavior that I exhibit in person is allowed. It's the very reason I wore my Trump hat to San Antonio. It's the very reason why I've been allowed to operate, untouched by any of this nonsense up until the point where I do believe that getting myself trespassed gave enough of a push and enough of like a gray area for Pokemon to say, oh, that's a little bit weird. We're going to go ahead and suspend him and we'll look into it. So I think come my appeal time, I'm going to be just fine. And I also think that we really, and I mean this holistically as a Pokemon community, I know that a lot of big names in the scene don't want to touch this, don't care about it maybe, or are just, staunchly against what I'm saying. But I think as an entire, holistically as the Pokemon community, or maybe even the TCG community as a whole, this has to fucking stop. This calling for violence, telling me to kill myself, saying that I should never feel safe, constantly harassing me, constantly targeting me. It is lunacy, and it has to stop. Again, I would easily and happily condemn people for their bad behavior. People that share beliefs as me. Congresswomen, congressmen saying ugly, nasty things. Terrible. I don't like it. But everybody deserves respect and dignity. And me caring about other people and me wanting to respect other people does not come with the automatic guarantee of my affirmation of their way of life or their beliefs. There's lots of things that I would never support people doing, saying, feeling, thinking. And this is just one of those things. So friends, leave your thoughts, comments down below. I feel like I'm missing some things. Oh, really big one. I got to touch on this one. 2024 NAIC, there was a post, and I can get all this that's all out there. People just don't look. And so that's why I'm not doing I'm not going to do the research for you and put it on the screen. I can, I do it in Twitter replies all the time. There was a post saying, hey, when you come to New Orleans, be careful. There's already been reports of people being like, I think it said like attacked or assaulted or mugged in the streets. And it was in relation to people coming to New Orleans for Pokemon. But they were saying, hey, be careful, travel in groups. That's what the post said. I quote tweeted it, and yes, I regret this because I was just being snarky. I was being edgy. Yes, I said, when I'm not at the event venue, I will have my gun on me. Just saying, smiley face. This is not a threat. It's the language is clear that I was never taking the gun to the Pokemon tournament. It's clear. Every single large Pokemon tournament has security, and every event venue does not allow firearms. So of course I knew, as a law-abiding gun owner, of course I know I can't take it with me, and nor would I be able to get it in anyways unless I was deranged trying to, make some kind of an attack. Of course I'm not doing that. And yet, people don't really take issue with the fact that I'm a law-abiding gun owner. They just want the narrative. So they will skip over details, and they will skip over truth, and they will just fill in the gaps themselves. So here's the reality. I flew my gun to New Orleans. That's a city. Lawful carry there. I had my gun on me when I walked around New Orleans. When I went to the venue, when I was leaving the hotel to the venue, I left my gun in the room because I knew I couldn't take it with me. So no, I never took a gun to a Pokemon tournament. I technically take a gun to every Pokemon tournament I go to that's local because it's in my car 24/7. I have multiple guns. I have another handgun in the closet over there. I have two assault rifles, a Armalite rifle 15s, AR-15s. I have like a 1900s shotgun that was my great grandfather's, and I have a Remington 870 in my in my closet, which is a shotgun. I'm a law-abiding gun owner, and I don't care what your politics are and your opinions are of whether or not I should own guns. I don't care. That's not for discussion. What's for discussion is the claim, and the claim is I took a gun to a Pokemon tournament. It simply never happened. Most people that tout that conversational point don't even know the facts. They don't understand where the quote tweet came from. They don't understand the context. They just were told Crashy took a gun to a tournament, and they just spew it. And as if it adds fire or fuel to the fire of me being a terrible bigot, transphobe, racist. I've been called Ku Klux Crashy. Where's my racist claims at? I don't understand where I'm racist at, other than just being conservative. So again, this way of acting is uncivilized, and we only see it on Twitter. And the reason why I'm talking about any of this to begin with is because we all know it. Even the people doing it know it. They know that they can't act this way, but they do it because they can get away with it. Please, if you're someone that disagrees with my beliefs, you don't have to be friends with me. But you can be cordial because that's what I give you, that same respect and dignity. I don't need you to be friends with me, but you will respect me. And for your own sake, again, strategically, for your own sake, quit making mountains out of molehills. Quit making enemies out of people that aren't allies, but they're not really your enemies either. I'm pretty neutral. I've been more or less progressive my whole life, that leaned moderate, that slightly shifted right. You need to stop this. It is a losing game, and it's one that, I said this on Twitter, about Pokeduel specifically, it's not even a game that they intend to win. It's just a game that they want to keep playing. Pokeduels wants to use my name as often as possible to garner attention, but they can't do it every day. They can't do it every single day. So they wait a couple times a month, use my name. Go find an old tweet, screenshot it, use my name. Like, it's performance. It's performance and audience meshed together, and it's nonsense. So yeah, leave your thoughts and comments. I'm not this terrible person. The people, like I said, the people that judge me based on their experiences with me would all vouch for me happily. We've got a great product. Check that out, topcutgear.com. If you don't want to support me, that's fine. It's totally fine. Be a decent person. Thanks so much for watching. I'm interested to see the reception of this. I don't think it's going to do very much. If anything, ironic enough, let's make a prediction. It'll just get more hate and more memes. they're going to say, he cried for 30 minutes about how nobody likes him when he's a bigot. It's like, if you watch this far, do I seem like a terrible, bigoted, hateful person? Truly. I'd love to know. Anyways, take care. God bless.